Backgammon players, this is Mick. I'm going over one of our most popular games today, Backgammon. And Backgammon has been around since the 1600s. We don't have any additional rules that we're trying to add to Backgammon. We're just trying to present a faithful representation of the game within our game library. So if we look at Backgammon, I have the rules page up here. There's a few terms that are nice to know. If you've ever played Sorry, Trouble, Parcheesi, any games in which you're trying to move your pieces around a board in the opposite direction usually of your opponent or alongside them and trying to get to your home area, this is kind of the granddaddy of all of those games. So all of those games are kind of in that family. So just to get a few terms right, these are your checkers. You start with 15 checkers in these starting positions. And as with all game-driven games, you're always going to be blue. Your opponent's always going to be red, whether you go first or second. And you're always going to be moving from the top right quadrant here, counterclockwise around the board, to get your checkers into this tray. So these are checkers. There are 15 checkers. There are 24 what we call points. So you'll see 6 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in each quadrant. And these are basically the spaces you're allowed to move a checker. You move a checker around the board like this. Now all of this is explained clearly in the rules section, but I'm also going to show you today how that works. So this is called the bar. This is the middle section here is called a bar. When you take a checker and put it into the tray in your home quadrant, your home here, which is the last of the 4 quadrants, this is called bearing off a checker into the tray. So home quadrant, points, checkers, tray, bar. Those are the terms that will really help you understand what's going on. So let's go ahead and start a new Backgammon game. I'll go to my opponent and add a new standard game. And then as Mick, I'll go into the Backgammon lobby and pick that up. So we're going to look at that. Now, one thing that I should show you is there are preferences to this game, but they're all cosmetic, really. You can change the board from brown to green. You can change the checkers from beveled to flat. And you can turn the hints on or off. So the hints doesn't show it on the board. I leave them on. They are on by default. They're going to show you, based on your dice roll, which checkers can be moved at that time. So you can turn those off if you like, but I find those very useful. We'll show you after we roll our dice how they work. So the first step in any turn in Backgammon is to roll your dice. There wasn't a previous turn, so I don't see any dice on the board right now. But I'm going to go ahead and roll them. And I got pretty much the worst roll you can get, a 2 and a 1. So this is kind of the lowest number on a dice that you can get, because with double ones you actually have 4 moves. So we only get 2 moves here. And so you'll see that the top of every one of my rows of checkers on these different points lit up. That's my hint. My hint is saying that I have to play the first dice. We play them in order here, the first die, and that first die is a 2. So it's saying that any of these checkers that are highlighted can move 2 points in the counterclockwise direction towards home. So I could move this guy, and then as soon as I move him, you'll see that the 2 has been grayed out, and it's saying, okay, now move your 1 checker. This guy can't move 1, you'll notice, but every other checker top of a row is available. Why can't this guy move 1? because my opponent has more than one of his checkers on a point. You can't have your points. You can't have your checkers and your opponent's checkers on the same point at the same time. So only one person's checkers can occupy a point. So if there's checkers, red checkers on any of these points, I'm not able to move there. So I will go ahead and move one here. Now, normally you would not want to do this. You would not want to orphan one of your checkers on any of the points, because if you orphan a checker, if you don't back him up with another checker, then that makes him vulnerable for capture. So if my opponent lands on any of these three checkers, this would be the most harmful one because it's furthest along in the path. That checker goes to the bar and is effectively imprisoned until it can come back out and start its journey again. So generally speaking, when possible, try to never keep any of your checkers exposed. So I'll go ahead and submit that move. And we'll go back here and look at the same backgammon game from her perspective. She sees highlighted in red here, red highlight, what I did on my move. Of course, the board is flipped, so her checkers are really now from here going back. So that's why you're always going counterclockwise. We change the orientation of the board just to keep it simple when you move from game to game, and not trying to remember your color, not trying to remember what direction you're moving. So we're always going this direction. So we'll go ahead and roll the dice. 6 and 5. So it doesn't look like I'm going to capture that guy. If I took this 6 and then 5, that's not going to capture any of my opponent, so I'm not going to do that. I think I'm going to go 6, and if I went, so that obviously is very close, and it looks to me like if I went 5 with this first checker, I would get his checker. So I just want to demonstrate how you capture one. So if I want to play the 5 first, I just go to this appliance here that flips the checkers. So now I get the 5. So I'll click 5, and you notice that I took his place on that point, and he now has to start. He can't do anything else before he moves that checker off the bar. And then I can move my 6 wherever I might want to do that. Now again, I'm leaving myself exposed just to show you the process of capturing opponent's checkers. Normally I would not want to keep so many 2 checkers here vulnerable. However, on Mick's turn, he's going to have to pull this checker out, and let's say he were to roll double 6s, he wouldn't be able to move because I'm occupying that point. He could get a 3 and kill me, or he could get any other number and jump out. Capture me, I should say. So we'll submit that. Come back to this game. So you see that I am on the bar, and I now have to roll and get off the bar in order to continue play. So I roll the dice. The 5 works, and I need to play that. If I try to flip this, it's not going to let me because the 6 wouldn't allow me to play. And you always have to play if you have a move. So the reason that's not flipping, it's telling me move 6 is not available at this stage. It will be available once I play the 5, because then the other checkers on the board are unlocked. The only thing I can click when there's a checker on the bar is the checker on the bar. So I'm going to go ahead and move that 5, and now you see I can move the 6 with any of the checkers that are highlighted. You'll also notice I can't move this 6. I can't bear any of the 5 checkers that are in my home area off, because there are still checkers in the other quadrants. You're only allowed to bear any of your checkers off when you have gotten all of your checkers into the home area. Then you can start to bear off. So keep that in mind if you're saying, how come I can't immediately make this guy safe with my 5? I can't, because I haven't gotten all of my blue checkers around. So I'll go ahead and move the 6 here, and that's how that goes. So a completed game is going to look something like this, where I have bared off these are the checkers in my tray. I had bared off 8 of my checkers, but my opponent got all 15 of hers, so she won 15-8. And that's really the basic movement rules. We follow the backgammon rules faithfully. There's no additional wild cards as we do in many of our other traditional games. No shark's gonna come out and eat one of your checkers or any of that kind of stuff. It's just a straight up backgammon game. Very popular. The things we don't do is we don't play a match. We're just playing individual games. So it's probably polite, since going first has an advantage, for you to match your opponent, maybe invite them to a game and then they invite you to a game, so you get a game of each type where each person gets to move first. But it's a smaller advantage, but it is an advantage. If you do roll doubles at any time, then you end up with 4 moves. So you'll get 4 dice down here in the move tracking area. So you'll see that in some of our games. I'm not sure if I have a game where there has been doubles, but that's how that goes. I don't have a turn right now. So back to game driven. Let's see. Roll that dice. 5 and 2. So down here in this area where there's a 5 and a 2, you would just see, if it was a pair of 5s, you would see 4 5s, and you would move them likewise up here. Just 4 times instead of 2. So that is a way to kind of jump ahead, is to get doubles. So we're always looking for doubles. As I said, the only feature we don't really do is a match, and there's something called a doubling die, which is a gambling aspect to playing a set of backgammon games. If you're playing to try to win a set and you get pretty far ahead, in the interest of time, there is a die that you can say, I want this game to be worth double the value. Instead of just being 1 game in our set, I want it to be 2 games. And then your opponent either agrees to gamble and go for the 2 games, or they concede the game. So it's kind of forces a forfeit, just to accelerate when you clearly are going to win. You're so far ahead, and neither player wants to play it out. Raising the stakes, so to speak, of the game will do that. So we do not have that feature because we're not playing a match set. So it really doesn't make sense in the context of this. So that's our review of Backgammon. Very popular game. There's a reason it's been around over 1,000 years, or almost 1,000 years. So, people like this game. It's a staple, and along with chess and checkers, these are 3 games we felt as a gaming site, casual gaming site, board gaming site, we needed to have them in our library. So that's why they're here. And it's been surprisingly refreshing to see how many people enjoy the game. So have fun playing, and I'll see you around the site.